Know what I'm talking about? Hold up. Whoa, 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 whoa.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Garrin. Every single Wednesday, we will be coming out with new sales trainings, new ways we're able to become a more well-rounded sales professional, and how we can incorporate that into the virtual world so we can start dominating that space. If you enjoy this content, be sure to follow my page, or you can follow hashtag Coach's Corner to get exclusive updates every single day when a new video comes out. We're going into last week. We had a great conversation about the close. I love the close. I love being able to end a sales cycle. It's one of my favorite aspects of the sales world, and I knew this was going to cause a bit of a commotion and have great conversation because far too many sales professionals just focus on the close and they lose sight of all the other important factors of the sales cycle. Don't get it twisted. I love the close, but there is more steps that you need to do to be able to have the privilege to ask for their business. Listen now, hear me out. It is not a right to be able to ask your clients or your prospective individual for the sale. It's a privilege. You have to earn that every single step through the sales cycle. Amy Franco actually tuned in, one of LinkedIn's top sales voices, mentioned she looked at the close as gradual steps of commitment throughout the whole sales cycle. And being able to effectively go through a sales cycle is giving your client or your prospective client an indication of what it's like to work with you. So guess what? If you're just going to focus on the close, you're not going to be able to get too far with them because guess what? You're looking at them like dollar signs and they're going to see right through that and you're not going to get anywhere. Larry Levine tuned in and he said he wanted to switch this conversation up. It's not about the close, it's about the open. Yeah, I love that. How imperative is it to have a first impression with your client during the open? So I want to talk about my top 3 strategies of what I like to do when opening a meeting to ensure that I have the privilege to ask for the sale at the end of the sales cycle. But we can't do that here. Guess where we got to go? The Coach's Corner. Let's go. Okay. I had to toss the blazer on because guess what? There's too much white going on here and it's imperative when you're making videos to not blend in too much. So we're going to be going over the top 3 strategies that I like to implement at the opening of a sales meeting in order to have the privilege to be able to ask for their business at the very end. So the very, very first one, understand company. Listen, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, I appreciate you taking the time to be able to sit down with me. Obviously, I've set up a lot of clients that are very similar to your situation, but I want to get a better understanding of what's going on in your world. Is your business growing? Are you not growing? What are your goals? Tell me more about your business. What is going on? You need to ask this because even though you're an expert in your industry, you don't really know what's going on in that specific business. And the last thing you want to do is come in and say, hey, I set up this specific industry, we did this, and that for them, and we can do the exact same thing for you when you have no understanding of what their business is. At the start of a meeting, great way to open up conversation. Listen, tell me more about your business. I've worked with a lot of companies in the same industry of you, but I understand that a lot of businesses work differently. So in order for me to provide a proper solution for you, I need to know what goes on in your organization and listen and let them talk, right? Let them tell you about their business. They're very proud of their baby. So what better way to get them to open up to be able to talk about their baby, right? First thing, ask to understand the company. Second one, observe. While they're talking about their company, take some time to observe what they're saying. Some things that they're very strong at. Maybe some areas that they are weak at or they want to improve on, right? They're not going to come out and say some of their weaknesses, but they're going to be very happy to talk about their strengths. So just be mindful of that. Observe what they're saying. Don't just sit there to listen. Take some notes down. If you notice some key indicators that, oh, hey, they talked about this. So for a great example is, we have a really big issue with supply chain, but we have this thing under control, right? You have a big problem with supply chain. Tell me more about that. What are some issues with that? Just be observing of that when you're opening up, because guess what? Once you start observing, they're going to understand that you're listening to them. And then when you clarify things, hey, tell me more about that. You said this. You mentioned how proud you are because you're able to minimize turnover within your company. Can you tell me more about that? How are you able to minimize that when so many industries, so many companies in your industry struggle with employee turnover? Tell me more about that. You'll be able to find some strengths, find some efficiencies within their organization. But even within those efficiencies that they're telling you about, there's holes that you're able to monitor, right? So when they're talking to you about understanding the company, make sure you're observing, make sure you're listening, so you can re-clarify and get some clarification on what they're talking about. The very last one that I love, ask, always ask for expectations. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, I really appreciate you taking the time to tell me more about your business. It sounds like you got a lot on your plate and there's a lot of things moving. You mentioned that A, B, and C are your strengths, and I really love that, and I really appreciate you giving me more insight on how you're able to retain your employees better than anybody else in your industry. So before I start going into my presentation, I just want to ask, what are your expectations of this meeting? What are you looking to get out of this meeting? And ask them. Because what better way to be able to provide a sales presentation than being able to find out what they're looking for? And then you just cater towards that. There's no sense in going into this big show and this big presentation, hey, look at this, when you're not even answering what their issues are, what they're expecting, right? Top 3 strategies when I'm going into a sales meeting. Understand the company. Listen, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. I work with a lot of companies in the exact same industry, but I have not had the privilege of working with you yet. But I want to have an opportunity to learn more about your organization. And sit back, and then number 2, observe. Observe what they're saying, analyze what they're saying, critique what they're saying, make notes of that, ask, dig deeper. Hey, tell me more about that. You said this. Can you tell me more about that so I have a better understanding? It's always about getting a better understanding. You can't provide your clients with a solution if you don't really know what the problem is, right? Last thing, ask for expectations. This is amazing. I'd love to give you an opportunity to show you how we're able to help you. I just want to, before I start, to get a better understanding of what your expectations are. What are you looking to get out of this meeting? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Garrin Blaney. Thank you for joining into another episode of Coach's Corner. If you do have any questions, put them in the comments for your opportunity to be featured in Coach's Corner. My name is Garrin Blaney. I appreciate your time. Peace.